Have y'all ever heard of Deutsch connectors? Because honestly, I wish I had known about them sooner. You're probably wondering, are these even worth it? So we're gonna put this through some tests today to see if these are actually worth your money and worth your time. In this kit, I have all the way from 2-pin all the way up to 12-pin, and you can come and get yourself some circular connectors. You can even get large gauge ones. So whatever application, even if it's outside of automotive, this has got you covered. In the kit, you have, again, everything you're ever gonna need. So with this and with these, we're gonna see our first test. How easy is it to actually use these connectors? First and foremost, let me just apologize for the weird camera angles, but let me just tell you right now, you're gonna see about 20 minutes worth of me struggling with this thing, all compressed down into like 30 seconds. So I got those things crimped, and the crimpers actually worked pretty well, but I decided to start with the hardest end of this thing. And the nice thing about it is the rubber is nice and really pliable, so it was really easy to get it over this 14 gauge wire. But getting it in with the tool, I tried right here, and it just wasn't really working all that great for me. It almost felt like the connectors that I had were meant more for 16 gauge wire, so it'd probably work better if you had a little bit smaller gauge. Anyways, I tried over and over and over again to get these in here. Granted, as time goes on, it probably would be a lot easier for me to do, but doing this just in the beginning was kind of a headache. But I finally got them in after ripping off a couple of the crimps and all that good stuff. Then right here, I finally got to put the wedge in. The wedge took a little bit, but in the end, you know, I made it work. And so the wedge was a little bit tricky. Getting the connector in there was a little bit tricky, but overall, I mean, this is very doable. Just don't expect it to be nearly as quick as your traditional connectors. When I got to the other side, the female end, oh, it was far, far easier. So that end, I had no issues going into it, mostly because the wedge on here is just so easy to manipulate. But it was basically the same process, and that actually took me just a couple of minutes. Like, honestly, a tenth of the time that it took me to do the wedges and the connector on the male side. So, got that all done, and now we're ready for step 2. Alright, we are officially connectorized. There's definitely a learning curve, but I'm sure as you do this more often, it will get easier. And the important thing is what we're going to test now, and that is continuity. We want to see how well we get electricity from one end to the other. And to do that, we're going to use the trusty Klein. So let's do it. I don't know what was going on with my Klein. It was starting at like 2 ohms on each connection and then dropping down to less than an ohm. And with electrical connections, you want less than an ohm. So I wanted to disconnect a couple oh, whoops. Yeah, so that definitely wasn't supposed to happen, but it's on the easy side. So it is easy enough to get that back on there. Anyways, so when we're doing our electrical connections, we want less than an ohm. I wanted to see that I could disconnect it and still get less than an ohm. And overall, that's exactly what it did. So this is a good electrical connection, which is super important because that's kind of the whole point of this. Well, minus the little technical difficulty that we had when I disconnected it, that passed the electrical test, but my meter was being weird. Maybe it's time that I upgrade. Anyways, I wanted to test something that this claims to be, which is waterproof. So we're gonna do the dunk test. I let it sit here in the bucket for just a couple of minutes. Nothing too crazy, but wanted to get those drips off and open it up, see if there's anything on the face. And there's nothing inside the male side of the connector and nothing on the face of the female, so we're gonna plug it back in, and I threw it in there, wiggled it around just to see maybe some water seeped in. I don't know, but I mean, it held up really well, and I didn't have any issues with that connector face coming off like I did earlier, so that's good. So this next test, my coworker actually suggested, so thank you, Tim, for that. But these are gonna be in places where you got a lot of heat, like in an engine compartment. So let's see how it fares against the heat gun. So this video is sped up like 10 times what it's supposed to be. Anyways, it held up really well for the heat part. Well, the heat gun was fun and all, but I just don't think that it was enough. See, I don't recommend putting this over direct flame, but that was kind of a given. I will say though, even with that, the inside's held up pretty well. Last test on our list is a simple tug test. We want to see what the strength is on these connections, and that's really important if these are going to be moving around. So here we go. Unfortunately, that was a lot easier than it should have been. You want to have really nice connections, so the crimpers didn't do the best job, but overall, even with that, I'm very satisfied with these connectors. You're going to see a lot more of these around my truck and anywhere else I can have an excuse to put them. So if you want to upgrade the wiring on your vehicle or your whatever, these Deutsch connectors are a great option for you, and I'll have everything that I used linked down in the description. As always, y'all have fun, be safe, make good choices. Have a great day.